The idea of the WoW killer has been discussed to death over the years, which is weird if you ask me, because I think the WoW killer has made its first appearance almost 20 years ago. And not just that, but there is not just one, but two WoW killers. I like TBC, but I also made it no secret that I fully believe this is where World of Warcraft did not die, but where the blood started dripping until we finally arrived to where modern World of Warcraft is at now. It was the beginning of the end, and I have even made a video about it. Very inflammatory take, I know. But how about this? Wrath of the Lich King, the very next expansion, doubled down on all of that, and the rest of the content that was not making the problem that TBC brought in even worse was, in my opinion, mediocre at best. But Arthas was a huge buff to the lore, the vibe, and the general appeal of the game. TBC started the process of letting the lifeblood of Warcraft slowly start dripping out, and Wrath of the Lich King is where the flow really picked up. Yes, Wrath, not Cataclysm. In a way, these two expansions are the WoW killers. This is where so many awful things that are generally disliked about retail, things that old school fans especially would say killed the game, started being a thing. And they are back. And while they probably cannot kill the game a second time, they can surely do a lot of damage. We will talk about their current effects in 2026. But first, let's discuss a bit about these expansions, so I can explain myself and this take that can seem like rage bait, because it's not. I truly think this is the harsh reality most people don't want to admit. In TBC, many things changed. The first expansion ever. Level 70 is the new cap, Outland is added to the game, new raids, new dungeons, a new race, the Alliance gets Shamans and the Horde gets Paladins, PvP is reworked, classes are finally rebalanced, and in many ways it really was a success. Most people agreed back then, and if I was a player back then, I would have almost certainly agreed as well. But some of the things this expansion changed were going to have some awful and forever lasting effects on the game. TBC is where the old world stopped mattering. Combine that with flying mounts and the fact that Outland was already much smaller than the old world, and the feeling of scale and exploration and adventure was already kinda gone. Even if you started at level 1 when the expansion launched, you could reach max level in, let's say, 2 months, and from that point onward you could just almost never leave Outland and just auto-fly to any location while jerking off. The dungeons were all very small, about the size of the Scarlet Monastery wings that people seemed to like a lot during vanilla. No more grand adventures like Dire Maul or Blackrock Depths. The leveling was considerably faster and more organized, and things were just getting overall more convenient over time. A faster leveling experience, a much smaller world, and a clear shift towards convenience, those are all objective facts about the Burning Crusade. And if we're being honest, they sound a lot like the same things old school players criticize retail for today. Yet somehow, TBC rarely gets blamed for any of it. To be fair, even 20 years ago, there were people raising these concerns, people who warned Blizzard that these kinds of changes could eventually lead the game in a very different direction from what vanilla had been. Naturally, most of them were just called stupid. And I get it. Without the power of hindsight, it's incredibly difficult to recognize the long-term consequences of these design decisions when they first appeared. If you were someone who could already see the potential issues with TBC while it was current content, despite all the hype and despite how genuinely good the expansion was in so many other ways, you were part of a very small group, a group that understood the game on a level that wasn't common at all. And to be honest, I would have called you stupid too. The people who should have known better, however, were the people making the game. At first, I was willing to cut them some slack when I was thinking about it. Just a butterfly effect kind of situation, right? A small change that unexpectedly snowballed into something much larger years down the line. That happens all the time in game design, in life in general. It is what it is. But the more I think about it, the less convincing that explanation becomes. These weren't small changes, they were fucking massive, fundamental. They altered how players interact with the world, how progression felt, and what the game was asking of its audience. While the average 14-year-old stupid zoomer playing World of Warcraft in 2007 couldn't reasonably be expected to predict the long-term effects, a team of experienced, well-paid game designers probably should have spent a little more time thinking through where all of this might eventually lead. But anyway, and because people genuinely loved TBC, Blizzard walked away from it thinking they had found the formula. So in Wrath of the Lich King, they doubled down on pretty much all of it. But it wasn't just that. Even a lot of the content that wasn't pushing the game in that direction was kind of all over the place. Some of it was really great, some of it was complete dogshit. Combined, we get overall a meh expansion. But of course, there was Arthas. A lot of people see Wrath as the peak of World of Warcraft. This is where the subscriber count peaked, right? Well, yeah, but it's also where the game stopped growing. For the first time, vanilla exploded. TBC kept growing just as fast. When Wrath comes out with Arthas, by far the most popular character in the entire Warcraft universe, at the center of everything, somehow the game stops growing. You wouldn't expect that to be the case. And if you don't think Arthas carried this expansion hard, you are insane. If Wrath had some random villain instead, the decline would have started here instead of Cataclysm 100%. And when you actually look at the game, it's not hard to see why. The world kept getting gutted. Leveling became so fast that the whole flavor of the month meme started. Is Mage broken this month? Just level a Mage. Is Rogue overpowered next month? Level a Rogue. Is Death Knight overpowered the month after that? They were overpowered the entire expansion, but you could just level 1 whenever you wanted. Getting to max level had become so easy that changing mains wasn't a commitment anymore. Another term that came out of this era was Wrath Babies, which older players used for people who started playing during this expansion, because you got to level 80 incredibly fast in a world that lost most of its danger, but even once you got there, the game started throwing epics at you for doing basically nothing. And the dungeons, oh my god, the dungeons of Wrath of the Lich King. TBC dungeons were already small and fast, but Wrath took it to another level because people complained that TBC were too hard when it came to heroics. So heroics in Wrath of the Lich King were so easy that the biggest threat was dying of boredom. The tank barely took any damage, the healer was barely needed at all, and the entire dungeon just got AoE'd down in a few pulls. As a priest main, the first time I played Wrath of the Lich King was during Classic, and I was shocked by how little I was needed. Heroic dungeons felt just like retail dungeon finder runs. It was just about pulling everything, spamming AoEs, collecting useless loot that will be replaced, and leaving. Then you get to phase 1 raiding. Naxxramas was okay-ish the first time around, but the problem is that this wasn't the first time around. Wrath launched with a recycled raid, something that only happened once in history, and beyond that, 2 terrible one-boss raids. That was our endgame. The leveling was boring, the dungeons were beyond boring, the raids were disappointing as hell. Phase 1 of Wrath of the Lich King was one of the biggest shocks I've ever had playing World of Warcraft. Looking back, I struggle to think of another expansion with a weaker launch. Maybe Shadowlands or Warlords of Draenor, but I don't even know. Now, to be fair, Ulduar and ICC were quite great, especially Ulduar. But then you had Trial of the Grand Crusader and Ruby's Sanctum, and we are back to dogshit territory again. And Trial of the Crusader is the first patch that invalidated the previous patch. This is where we started not even playing the last expansion, but the last patch only. This is where the idea that only the latest content should matter really started taking over. Suddenly your previous progress doesn't really matter, the new patch comes out, gear is reset, and everything you've been doing gets thrown in the trash bin. And if you think I'm being stupid, go back and look at Wrath of the Lich King in 2022. Once the nostalgia wore off, a lot of people stopped caring surprisingly fast. A lot of people quit playing. Nixiom made a great video about this exact thing back in the day. People remembered Wrath as this flawless experience, and then they actually got to play it again and they quit. And then there's the lore. The thing everybody was there for back in the day. Arthas. The problem is that Arthas spends half of the expansion showing up, threatening us, and then letting us walk away. Over and over and over again. He's like a Scooby-Doo villain.
You haven't seen the last of me. I will catch you next time. Just you wait, you silly kids.
Okay, cool. See you in another dungeon, I guess. After a while, the Lich King himself just stops feeling threatening. Every time he appears, you already know nothing is gonna happen. And Blizzard's explanation for why this kept happening just makes it even worse. Apparently Arthas was testing us. That's the actual explanation, he was testing us. He lets us kill his commanders, destroy his armies, invade his territory, clear so many dungeons and raids, including all of the Ice Crown Citadel, because he wants to make sure we are the strongest people on Azeroth. Why? Seriously, why? If we are the strongest champions of Azeroth, I mean, just kill us and raise us as undead. And if we are not the strongest, then kill us anyway and deal with the stronger people later with an even stronger army. Instead, he basically spends the entire expansion helping us destroy everything he spent years building just so he can prove to himself that we are the strongest. The moment you stop and think about it, the whole thing falls apart. Arthas is just stupid. And the thing is, there was a better explanation sitting right there. Not some incredible masterpiece of writing, not some mind-blowing twist, just something simple that actually made sense. What I always assumed that was happening when I first played Wrath was that Arthas was still in there somewhere, that there was still a small piece of the old Arthas buried deep beneath the Lich King, that maybe subconsciously he couldn't bring himself to fully commit to killing us or destroying the world. That maybe that's why he keeps letting us escape. I know it's predictable, it's not exactly Shakespeare, but at least I could have looked at this and said, okay, fair enough, that makes sense. Instead we got this whole, he was testing us, it's just a prank, bro, crap. And that's just Arthas. Wrath of the Lich King had plenty of other weird writing decisions, bad writing, plot holes, and moments that make absolutely no sense. But if I start going through all of them, this video is going to be 3 hours long. And while all of this was happening, Wrath also introduced things that would become huge talking points later on. Random Dungeon Finder, the first microtransactions, things that seemed relatively harmless at the time, but ended up becoming part of a much bigger trend. Now, to be clear, I'm still not saying TBC and Wrath were bad expansions when they were current content. They weren't. It was a different time. The games were genuinely incredible. I had some decent fun with them as well when I first played them in Classic, especially with TBC. And even with Wrath of the Lich King that disappointed me, I still understood the appeal. For a lot of people, it was a chance to revisit some of their favorite memories. Even for me, there were plenty of moments I did enjoy. But playing it for a third time with level boosts, with WoW tokens, with I don't know what other microtransactions they're going to add to the game, wow! I would rather play Gollum. And if you're enjoying that, fair enough. Who cares? Play whatever you want. The reason I care, if enough people buy level boosts during TBC anniversary, and if enough people want to jump back into Wrath anniversary and keep buying boosts, tokens and all of the rest of it, then Blizzard does that first. Because I've always knew that if Wrath of the Lich King happens, Classic Plus gets delayed by a lot. The thing is, I never seriously thought that was possible. Like, in my head, the choice seemed so obvious. Who would want to go and play Wrath again instead of getting Classic Plus faster? Apparently, a lot more people than I expected, which is insane. And if that happens, I don't think I'm the only one who's going to be disappointed, because Classic Plus is the biggest opportunity Blizzard has had in years. The closest thing they have to recapturing that feeling that made people fall in love with WoW in the first place. Delaying it so dads that have 34 jobs can buy a level boost, then buy tokens, then buy carries for Naxxramas again, holy shit. And if that happens, it won't just suck giant balls because I'll have to wait for Wrath of the Lich King to be done all over again so I can see Classic Plus. I think Classic Plus itself gets hurt. Because honestly, I think this October is probably the best launch window it's ever going to get. You have to look at everything around it. How hype cycles work nowadays, how marketing works nowadays, GTA 6, other MMOs, the fact that more and more old school MMO players are starting to look at games like old school RuneScape. A delay isn't just a delay could genuinely hurt Classic Plus. You want the best launch possible because first impressions are incredibly important and incredibly hard to change, and the wait is already longer than it should have been, and that is already not good for the game. At this point, a Classic Plus announcement at BlizzCon is basically guaranteed. Okay, we all know it. The real question is when the game actually releases, and timing matters. Hype dies way faster than it used to die 20 years ago. That's just the reality of the modern internet. But combine that with GTA 6, combine that with other MMOs, combine that with Blizzard's tendency to take forever to do anything, and suddenly delaying Classic Plus starts looking like a really bad idea. TBC and Wrath hurt World of Warcraft a lot in the past. That's a fact whether you agree or not. Not because the developers were evil, not because they were trying to ruin the game. They weren't. They should have spent more time analyzing what they were doing, but it is what it is. It just happened, but it still happened, and I really hope they don't get a chance to hurt the game a second time. TBC is already hurting it again right now by confirming to Blizzard that a huge portion of the player base will happily eat up dogshit microtransactions like they're the sweetest fruit on earth, just like retail players. Big surprise, which again it's very hard for me to look at someone buying this crap and not cringe, I am sorry. If Classic Plus eventually gets level boosts, tokens, mounts, whatever, things that slowly destroy the integrity of the game, and let's be honest, there is a good chance it will, then every person buying this crap since the first re-release of TBC helped make this happen by a lot. Because what you're telling Blizzard is, you know what, I would actually like to pay extra money so I can objectively make the game worse for myself and everybody else too. And Wrath Anniversary could double down on that, then it could be even more profitable and it could make what we will get in Classic Plus even worse, which is stupid on all fronts. I made a video about it. Keeping the game free of microtransaction is the way to be more profitable long term. But if the player base proves that you can still get a gigantic amount of money fast with no risks through microtransactions, yeah, the shareholders will go for that and I cannot blame them for doing it. The blame is on the players buying this. If you do not buy it, they do not add it. Simple as that. But even worse, Wrath could also delay Classic Plus out of what I genuinely believe it is its ideal release window, and that could have some pretty massive consequences. At the end of the day, I really couldn't give a fuck if Wrath Anniversary comes out or not. If people want to play it, whatever. I just hope that if it happens after Classic Plus has already been out for a while. Give it a few good months. Let the game establish itself first. Let people actually experience the thing they've been waiting for years. Then do whatever the hell you want with Wrath. Better yet, keep the Wrath and the TBC realms up forever and dump all your stupid microtransactions there, as you are already doing. It's not like the player base doesn't like them. They will buy everything. They will give you a lot of money. Let them have their stupid fun. Let them buy gear from the in-game shop at this point. Just please not in Classic Plus. Do not add that in Classic Plus and do not delay it for Wrath. Anyway, that was the video. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe and until next time, peace.